and welcome to Don't Call Me a Diva, the podcast. The podcast is about two fellas, myself and my good friend Josh, that have a crazy passion for women's wrestling, and we want to support and promote it in any way possible. And this is what the podcast is about. Please like and subscribe and listen to the audio in a second. Hello and welcome to Don't Call Me a Diva podcast. Hello.
How you doing? You good?
Are you right, boss?
I'm good. Are we like recording now, or what's going on?
I think we're recording. Yeah, we're definitely recording.
Oh yeah, I've got a nice little button saying we're connected. So man, this is exciting, right? This is like proper exciting.
Oh, it's proper buzzing, mate. It's the northeast and the south of England connecting up to talk wrestling.
And we don't even sound that different, do we? Like,
I know, because I'm not really from the northeast. I'm from Luton, the Fens area, so sort of like no difference at all, really.
sunny Luton. Oh,
mate, third in the championship, mate. Third in the championship. That's all you got to remember.
Are you a Luton Town fan?
A little bit.
You will be, though, won't you, when they win the playoffs, right?
Yeah. And then they have to go and use the MK Stadium because Kenilworth Road's too small. Yeah.
As you do. So, mate, like, what are we doing? Why are we here? What's happened this week? What's made us dive in to Don't Call Me a Diva?
Mate, I think one of the things is the great thing about social media these days is you can have connections with people from miles away and all around the world. And me and you found a connection with a love for women's wrestling. And this is why we've decided to do something. We're not sure what it's going to be, but we're doing something.
I mean, whatever it's going to be is going to be full of passion, full of drive, because as we've spoke, haven't we, several times in the past, in passing, as you do on the social media, on the Twitter, on wherever, and we've just got that one thing in common, and it is the passion for women's wrestling. Now, obviously, people will look at us and be like, "Oh, women's wrestling, yeah, okay, yeah." You're two blokes and you love women's wrestling. It doesn't work like that. Honestly, my passion for women's wrestling is matched by the male wrestling. There's no divide for me. I just enjoy the variant, and we'll probably learn a lot more about the styles that I enjoy, as well as the styles that you love and that we've both grown up watching, because that is what this podcast is about. And do you know what, mate? I'm buzzing. I'm so glad we've decided to go on and
mate, do this. It's gonna be so good. And I think one of the big things is maybe we've got to stop doing is remove the women bit out of it. And it's wrestling. It's wrestling and wrestlers. And I think that's one of the most important things, because I'll tell you this from my perspective. I think over the past 5 years, there's been more slobber knockers and barn burners coming from the women's side of wrestling than there has been to the blokes in a lot of ways. And I think it's really, really, really positive that we can join forces, be a tag team, such as like the Boss and Hug connection, all right, to push women's wrestling forward.
So you're doing the boss bits and I'm doing the hugging bits, right?
I'll boss, you can hug.
Yeah, we've got it. I mean, we've absolutely got it. So without further ado, we may as well introduce the audience to ourselves, and what the plan is moving forward for this podcast with this bonus episode, which I'll hand it over to you as to why we've called it what we've called it. But first, before we get there, mate, what a huge week. Are you all in?
Mate, Joe, what? I didn't think I was, but my wife surprised me as an amazing goddess she is, and I am all in.
Mate, I'm all in. And I think there's 70,000 plus others that are all in.
Mate, that is literally. I believe the stat is that's beaten the one that happened in Wales a few months back, hasn't it? Okay, with Drew McIntyre, WWE, and that's only 10,000 away from SummerSlam. So this is crazy stuff for wrestling. This is absolutely crazy stuff.
No matches announced,
No.
August the 28th, I think it's bank holiday in August, Sunday. Nothing announced. 70,000 plus screaming nutbags, wrestling fans, marks from all over the country, potentially all over the world, and we are two of the 70,000 that are hashtag all in, baby.
I am all in, and the funny thing about it is we're right at the back, and that doesn't matter because we're there for the vibe, we're there for the passion, we're there because this, my friend, is history. That's why we are all in.
We are bringing the Don't Call Me a Diva podcast to all in, baby.
Oh man! On that note, quick question before we go anywhere else though with it: if there is one dream women's match at All In you could have, what would it be? I know what mine is, but I want to know yours.
Yeah, man, this is easy for me. It won't happen at this point in time because of where we're at, and I'm using the current AEW roster. Okay,
Yeah.
And it's a very, very biased choice. But you said dream match, so it's a dream match for me, and the listeners will learn as to why it's a dream match for me. But I want to see Jamie Hayter, of course,
Oh
from
my God.
Southampton, England, our AEW Women's Champion, go 1-on-1 with the current undefeated TBS champion, Jade Cargill.
Oh mate, that's a cool. Do you know where mine slightly differs? All right, mine slightly differs is I'm going patriotic here. Okay, I want Jamie Hayter. All right, versus Soraya.
Mate,
Okay,
that's money.
and I think that would be a match that would be it could be a co-main event. All right, but that match would just sell the whole event itself in the sense of both of them wrestlers would go up to British Bulldog Dynamite Kid level in that element.
It's written in the stars, right?
It's got to be. I'm praying to every single one of the gods for that.
Did you see what I did there? Written in the stars.
Yeah, written in the stars. I did see it.
Yeah. Good. If the listeners got it, tweet us. Let us know.
Yeah, definitely tweet us.
That pun. We're not going to reveal what exactly it means, but we both know it because why? We're wrestling fans. We are women's wrestling fans.
Emphasis on wrestling.
Absolutely, the emphasis is on wrestling. So, Scalzi, my friend, the podcast. What's the dream? What are we aiming to achieve with the Don't Call Me a Diva podcast?
So I think because we both grew up in the time period where I think women's wrestling was kind of pushed to the bottom of the card. I mean, women's wrestlers weren't respected in a lot of ways, and we're both passionate about women's wrestling. I think the dream is to promote the amazing matches that you see in promotions such as AEW, Impact Wrestling, NWA, WWE, Stardom, and so, all right. So we can get everybody in the world on board with these major matches. That is the dream, okay, all right, of the podcast. The name, we sort of like threw it across a couple of names. And the big thing about the name, Don't Call Us a Diva, okay, all right, is they are not divas anymore. They are wrestlers.
Absolutely. Touche to that. I think the term diva was great. Like it was great through that era. 2005 to 2010 maybe.
Yeah.
Great term used in a certain promotion, the biggest promotion in the world, of course. But we were also involved with Spike TV here in the UK.
Yeah.
And it was airing TNA, Total Non-Stop Action. And they had a knockouts division, very, very similar to a Divas division. The terminology, again, knockout, you're a female knockout. It makes sense. But that roster was stacked. And over the course of this podcast, we're going to dive into the history of TNA, the history of WWE, the terminology diva, and moving forward to today. So I am so excited, but we want to emphasize that women's wrestling and the women involved have acknowledged that they're not divas anymore. We are one. We are equal.
Oh man,
to the men. And I think that's our passion and that's our drive. And of course, yes, the Diva era existed. And if the Diva era didn't exist, I don't think we'd be here today with the talent that was involved across the world. But if you look at every single promotion now, look at New Japan, you know, the IWGP Women's Championship.
Yeah.
It's this year. It's been huge this year with Mercedes Moné and Kyrie. That's just to name just a select few. Women's wrestling is on the up, and that's our drive, and that's what we want to bring across to the viewers, the listeners, and we want to just share our passion with all of you. And there's going to be a lot of viewer listener interaction across the board, and I'm going to dive into that a little bit later in this episode, because yesterday I put a tweet out there which I'll get into a little bit more, and the reach and the responses were amazing. So thank you to everyone for doing that, and you will all get a shout out a little bit later in the show. But Scholesy, my man, shall we dive into exactly why we're here? Let's dive into our notes, because we made notes this week for this one. We couldn't just come in.
Notes.
We couldn't come
I felt
in,
like I was like 10 years old then, mate.
we were like WhatsApping each other. Look at our photos. Look at our notes. Look at our pen. Our notepads were full. Whether we get to all of that today, who knows? But the Don't Call Me a Diva podcast is not a one-hit wonder. This show, this podcast is here to stay. And mate, shall we just dive in as to why we're here? And if I'm right in saying, we're going to dive in to why the episode is called what it is called. So, Scholesy, my man, it was your decision to call the episode what we're going to call it. So I'm going to let you introduce it and introduce the first part of our Don't Call Me a Diva podcast.
Oh, mate. We are going to be talking about for the next couple of minutes probably one of the most underrated wrestlers in the business. So it's time. Let us glow, my friend. We are going to talk about Trinity Futu / Naomi signing for Impact. How did you feel when you heard that, my friend Josh?
I was buzzing, mate. Like, I was literally buzzing. I love Naomi, even, you know, maybe not necessarily from the Funkadactyl time. With
Tyrus is doing well, though, man. Tyrus is doing well. NWA champion.
Yeah, I love a bit of Tyrus.
Man, love Tyrus. Love him. I love his Fox News bits as well.
the guy has come so far. But that's enough about Tyrus. We're here for Trinity, for Naomi, and I'm delighted. I was following, I was waiting until the moment that she'd appeared somewhere. I've seen a lot of nonsense on social media about, you know, Mercedes, Sasha Banks. She left WWE. She took Naomi. It took their ball and went home. Sasha's landed on her feet in New Japan, blah, blah, blah. Champion, doing The Mandalorian and several other things. And Naomi's just sat in the dark. Well, she's not. Because
she definitely wasn't sat in the dark. This is the thing. I mean, I was listening to an interview on Busted Open Radio, and I thought it was great. She literally pretty much had her music sorted out within a couple of weeks, her outfit sorted out in a couple of weeks. She appeared on Ring of Honor, okay, at the front of the crowd watching an Athena match. And I think what Naomi did was she waited for her time to pounce. And I think there was a concept of, I think she was also being polite to Mercedes in the sense of let Mercedes have her light and then I'm going to jump in. And when she made her debut a few days ago on last week in Chicago, people like Mercedes were there, all right, supporting her. And I think this is the important stuff within women's wrestling, all right, that even though there was a situation that Trinity and Mercedes had, right, they've moved into the bigger world of wrestling, the world outside of the number one promotion. Okay. And this is why it was so important. I mean, I think personally, this is the biggest signing outside of WWE in wrestling. And I talked about this with you actually this week. I think this is a Kurt Angle 2006 moment when Kurt Angle turned up at TNA back then, right, went face to face Samoa Joe. And I think Trinity is doing something that is the same and maybe even better.
I really hope so. I genuinely really hope so, because she's got everything. And that new T-shirt, which I know you've already ordered.
Yes, I did.
Big coop. You must have been like one of the first people to purchase that.
Well, I'm gutted, mate, because it's like I was on. I've been liking like tweets like crazy this morning, and like there's like a big bunch of ladies that have all got this T-shirt that must have ordered it straight away, or it must have been at the Chicago event. But I did. As soon as I saw it ordered, mate, I was like, bang, got to get that. Got to get that.
In the bag. Let's hope that in the next 2 to 3 weeks you'll be getting it. You'll be posting a photo in your Naomi T-shirt or your Trinity T-shirt, sorry. And hey, may even see you at AEW All In wearing that T-shirt, because we're in similar seats. Like, we're not far from each other. So we are definitely bringing the Don't Call Me a Diva podcast to 100%. AEW Wembley, London at the end of August. So Trinity's debut, awesome. I just want to highlight one thing, and I want you to, just dive in a little bit from this comment for me. And I quote from Trinity: "Impact Wrestling has the most storied women's division in wrestling history." And mate, I know you do. I agree. So I know you're an Impact Mark. Can I call you an Impact Mark? Is that allowed on this podcast?
I'm all right being a Mark. I think the important thing to remember, right, about TNA Impact Wrestling, you had people like Gail Kim that didn't quite fit the mold in WWE, and she had 2 stints in WWE. People forget, and her stints weren't bad. She didn't fit the mold. She didn't fit what Vince McMahon particularly wanted, and she went to TNA, and she murdered it. She absolutely murdered it. You had people like OBD that didn't fit the mold of what the big promotion wanted and murdered it in TNA. You had the beautiful people. You had Love and Sky. And this is the thing. When you're talking about women's wrestling, WWE was never behind. Their division was just smaller. Okay. And with the knockouts, their division was big. I was having a look last night. I didn't realize how big the division was back in that sort of time period, 2010, 2013, 2007, 2013. And I think Trinity is correct, because TNA Impact do 2 things really, really right. They do women's wrestling right, in my perspective, and they do storytelling right. So in that element, she's 100% correct. And I think Trinity Futu will fit. She does, actually. She fits the mold perfectly. And we saw that the other night when Deonna came out and Grace came out, that she just fit in perfectly. And that's the excitement for me. That's what grabs me, is because Impact TNA back in the days, they have always equaled women's wrestling. It's never been more men's wrestling or anything like that. They did a lot of mixed tags in the early days. Do you remember that? With sort of like a lot. What was Harris's and James Storm's tag team called? The Americans Most Wanted. Gail Kim came in and she mixed tag with them for ages, didn't she?
AMW. So, they were money, absolute money.
But yeah, I think this is a life-changing element. I was listening to Big Swole on YouTube, AEW wrestler, a former AEW wrestler, and she was basically saying that this is the best roster for women's wrestling. And she goes, the ratings will go up with Trinity, and Impact is killing it. But you look at the roster that they've currently got Impact. They've got Savannah Evans. They've got Pavazo, they've got the Death Dolls, they've got Havoc and Rosemary Death Dolls. They've got people like that. They've even got Mickey James, Wilder King, Slamovich. It's just such a strong division. I mean, what do you think that Impact can give Trinity, if you get what I mean by that?
Yeah. I think it's a really, really good question, to be honest with you, and you could break it down in several ways. I think what Impact will give Trinity, to begin with, and I don't necessarily think she needs it, but we all do deep down, is confidence. She was probably underappreciated a little bit in WWE, although I think people do forget she won a championship at WrestleMania in her hometown in the 6-pack.
Two times.
So let's not forget that WWE did give her that on the big stage. I think, was it WrestleMania 33? She took the title off Bliss in that 6-pack or 6 whatever women's championship match. And it was rushed. It was a 6-minute match, but she got that moment in her hometown in front of 60,000+ fans. So people might think she doesn't need the confidence, but yeah, of course you do. because she may have felt underappreciated towards the end, and she wants to be able to give him the time. And time is a massive thing in the world of wrestling, especially in the women's divisions, that they're not necessarily given enough time. Now, if you let Trinity go with Jordan Grace, with Masha Slamovich, with Killer Kelly, we haven't even mentioned Killer Kelly yet, and then eventually Mickie James, Deonna Purrazzo, who, by the way, was so underused and underappreciated. I use that word a lot in NXT.
Oh, man.
Deonna's a huge star. So there's so much over the next 12, 18, 24 months for Trinity, and I'm all here for the ride. I really am.
I think the really interesting thing about it is earlier in the year, I think Grace and James actually had a 20-minute match, or it was about 19 to 20 minutes at one of the pay-per-views. I'm trying to remember the pay-per-view, but this is what Impact will give her. They will give her time to show her ability within a match. And this is why it's great in the sense of it being 50-50 down the middle with Impact. They give a lot of time to the men, they give a lot of time to the women. And she's also got there, you've got to remember, she's got veterans there. She's got people like Mickie James, she's got Rosemary, and people forget Rosemary's been in the business for years. I mean, her horror gimmick is absolutely amazing. And this is what she'll get out there. She'll get time to prove her ability in the ring. And this is the most important thing, I think, for Trinity currently, because everybody's asking the other question, is she going to dip her toes in the other promotions? And the great thing about Impact Wrestling, currently they have a working relationship with New Japan Pro. Okay. They're doing the multiverse events and stuff like that, which get shown on Access TV. And we're seeing New Japan Strong. We're seeing such a strong element. So we might actually see Mercedes work with Naomi, all right, more. Okay. And I think that's another positive thing for Trinity, because one of her big things I noticed she put on Twitter is she went to Impact and there was people like Brian Myers, Kurt Hawkins there, Tommy Dreamer, and so that she knew, so she didn't feel uncomfortable. And my favorite story of the whole thing about the whole sort of like that Chicago weekend is CM Punk playing Uno with everybody.
What a guy. I know he gets a lot of hate, but honestly,
I'm a Punk fan.
Oh, mate, huge Punk fan, and we might even be seeing him at All In. But that's for another day. That's for another conversation.
That's another day,
yeah,
man.
I fully agree with everything you just highlighted. I genuinely do, and I'm excited not just for Trinity, but I'm excited for Trinity's fans, the wrestling fan base, to see where she goes. And it gives us something extra on a Thursday night. Obviously, there's Ring of Honor. As you said earlier, she was in the crowd at Ring of Honor. There's crossovers between Impact, New Japan, Ring of Honor. So the scope for Trinity to eventually, conquer the world is huge. It is there for her. And could we even see her go one-on-one with Mercedes Moné inside the Tokyo Dome?
That'd be beautiful. So, I mean, the mad thing about it is, I was listening to Renee's podcast a few weeks back, and she was interviewing Athena, and she was talking to Athena about people that Athena wants to fight for the Ring of Honor title, and Trinity is mentioned a fair few times in there. So I could see there being a Ring of Honor push eventually, because I think Athena's not losing that title anytime soon. So, I mean, that would be great. And the Tokyo Dome, that's a dream. That would be beautiful. That'd be amazing, I think. I mean,
there's a best friend story to tell, isn't there? It's easy to get there.
Yeah, I mean, and we're not talking about the other best friend. We're talking about this best friend.
Exactly.
But I mean, it's one of I think it's one of the things is I'm not gonna lie, I'm a 404 man. It's sort of like my two daughters are obsessed with Trinity and Mercedes, and it has been literally the highlight of the week. The kids skipping around the house like, yes, Trinity's in Impact. We're big Impact fans here, so it's I think it's a positive for the whole entire element of wrestling. I think Trinity going to Impact because again, stacked roster for great women's wrestlers. Also, if she needs to learn anything, there is people that she can sit under the learning tree. Oh, that's an Impact joke. Okay, but so it's mate, it's just so positive. I'm sitting here and we can't see each other, but my grin on my face talking about the subject with Trinity is because I remember watching her in Divas and being in Funkadactyls and her winning her titles and stuff like that. And it always felt with Trinity that she got there, but not all the way there. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And I think, and this is the opportunity for her to get there.
The floor is all Trinity's.
Let's feel the glow, brother. Let's feel the glow.
That is feel the glow, my brother. It was, yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy for everyone. Wrestling fans, listeners, viewers, tweet us. Hashtag don't call me a diva, at Scoldy Talk and at 9+1 = 10. Just tweet us your dream matches for Trinity, either in Impact, Ring of Honor, the New Japan crossover. Tweet us your dream matches, and again, we will voice those on the next show. Keep an eye on the Twitter feeds because we'll put that question out there to you as well in the next few hours, couple of days, but just keep an eye on our Twitter feed. But don't forget to use that hashtag. Don't call me a diva. Scalzi, mate. Right, we've got a lot of notes, and as this is our pilot episode, I think we need to let our viewers know who are our. Sorry, I shouldn't have said the word what. Who are our favourite female wrestlers? Should we go with 4, maybe 5, absolute max? So break that down. Can you give me your 5 favourite female wrestlers, either currently or of all time?
So I'll mix it. I'll mix it up because I think that's fair. So I've mentioned Gal Kim. I mean, Gal Kim is the first one. I loved her first element when she went into TNA, and I loved what she did with Storm and Harris in particular, and her storylines with Awesome Kong. My second one would be probably Velvet Sky. I think what she did with the Beautiful People with Love, Angelina Love, I can never get her name right, was absolutely amazing. So it's got to be Velvet Sky. And then if we move more into a modern era, it's Camille, the NWA champion, the Brick House. I think she, for me, could be one of the most dominant wrestlers of all time. Okay. If when eventually she sort of like moves probably to AEW, I think I could see her going to maybe long termly. I think Jamie Hayter, because again, she's a Brit, and I'm a proud Brit, and I'm proud that we've got a Brit as a world champion currently in wrestling. And probably, I mean, this is a hard one. I want to go a bit old school, so I'm going to go China, man. I'm going to go China.
Good shouts.
Because China deserves a lot more credit than she gets. I mean, Chris Jericho talks about her in the sense of no one wanted to wrestle her. Okay, because they wanted her to face men back in the day. And Chris Jericho went and faced her. And basically, Chris Jericho said, it's legit, she can hit hard. Okay, so they're my 5, man. They're my 5.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Right. My 5 then. Okay. Again, the patriotic side of it is going to be involved with my 5. But mine are very, 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 very current. I will say that. Most people know me. They're going to automatically know who my number 1 is. It is the Queen. It is Charlotte Flair. For a number of reasons, I can't even do that. It's like we're recording at 9:30 in the morning. I am not going to go out. I pitched woo. I wish I could, but you've just absolutely knocked me out of the park on that one. So my number 1 is quite easy. It is Charlotte Flair. My number 2, again, very, very obvious to most people that do know me. It is the undefeated TBS champion, Jade Cargill.
The modern day Goldberg.
The modern day Goldberg. She is killing it. My number 3, okay, and this is the patriotic side of it. It is Paige Saraya. Okay, obviously there's a lot of talk about, the Divas evolution, and it began with Paige. I kind of agree/disagree with that, and we'll go on to that at a later episode. But yeah, Paige has to be up there for me. The Fight With My Family movie as well, by the way, which we
Awesome.
discuss, and we'll touch on that over again in later episodes. But yeah, Saraya comes in at number 3. I'm going a little bit closer to home here with this one, because she's a friend and she's such a hard worker, and she's done a lot for me in the past, and we do stay in touch. And I think we'd like to have her on the show at some point. Is Heidi Katrina. So Brit Rest fans, if you do know Heidi Katrina, give me a thumbs up on the Twitter. If you've met her, send your selfies. What an awesome, wonderful human being Heidi Katrina is. And if you're listening, I wish you well, speedy recovery, and get back inside the squared circle very soon. So currently Charlotte Flair, Jade Cargill, and Heidi Katrina, plus Paige and Soraya. So number five is someone that's quite new to my list, but she's broken, and she's broken so comfortably. I'm heading over to the world of stardom, and it's Julia, which many of you will be fully aware of. I think her story, and the story being told by Stardom for Julia, is phenomenal. And her matches this year, probably most notably with Tam Nakano, just amazing. So that's my five: Charlotte Flair, Jade Cargill, Heidi Katrina, Paige, and Julia.
I mean, the interesting thing about it is sort of like, I think all of them wrestlers that you've actually said, okay, I would agree with you. They're all high standard wrestlers, and this is the thing. You look at Charlotte Flair, as I say, is she has the best moonsault in the business via Lady Frost. Okay, so it's Flair's got to be everybody's number one at some point in their wrestling journey. Do you get what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. And I think she does get a lot of hate because of the old, she's been thrown, down our throats kind of thing. She's a multiple time world champion. Well, she is the best, possibly alongside Bayley, the best technical women's wrestler in the WWE. So
now, can I? I'll say, this is where we might disagree. I think the best technical female wrestler in WWE is Natalya Nephart by miles. I think she's just not been given an opportunity. That's why I want her to be released as well.
Yeah, Natty, I've got a lot of love for Natty. Massive fan. I'm a bit annoyed actually that she's not in my top five. I think
with Natalya though, isn't it? It's sort of like she's very similar to Charlotte, but Charlotte's got this concept of being overly charismatic as well. And I think Natalya, I wish the Natalya you saw in Divas was the Natalya you see in the sort of promos in the wrestling ring, okay, in WWE, because her ability to wrestle, okay, is, I personally think you are talking about one of the best women's wrestlers, or wrestlers with the ability she does. I mean, she hits that sharpshooter like it's just amazing. It's beautiful to watch. When she hits that sharpshooter, it's like me watching Charlotte Flair moonsault. Okay, it's just poetry in motion. But yeah, that's my perspective. I think Natalya needs more love, and I think she's another wrestler that would benefit probably leaving WWE. In that sense, because she would probably go to the top of anybody's roster in that element.
It seems to me that Natty's very happy with what she's done in the Divas era, what she probably does backstage with the women, and obviously
Her and Shayna are the major trainers, aren't they? So
yeah, absolutely. And then obviously alongside her husband TJ Wilson,
legend,
absolutely, could not agree more.
Legend.
So
Him and Davey Boy Smith Jr. Man, sorry, just went off.
Yeah. I absolutely, fully agree. But yeah, I think the only thing that will stop her from moving is potentially the links that she's got there at WWE, and how she probably, and I would say most definitely, is appreciated backstage, that we don't all see that. So yeah, fully agree. Fully agree. So Scalzi, I want you to answer just one question on this show. What is your favourite women's match of 2023 so far?
Mate, I mentioned it earlier on. Okay, a 20-minute barn burner. Okay, of championship versus you leave the industry. Okay, Grace versus Mickey James. This wrestling match had the best chemistry I have seen in absolute years. Mickey James an amazing standard of wrestling anyway. She's quick, she's tiny, she's brave, she's ballsy. We saw her facing up to Bully Ray a couple of months ago, right in his face, and was going to smack him in the head. And Bully Ray's a big lad. And she went against the bodybuilder, the powerlifter Grace, and it was just a solid match. It was just a solid technical match, and it was great in-ring work. And that's a big thing for me. So in-ring work is one of my major passions for wrestling. That's what I said about Natalia a second ago. And it was just a great match. It was just an all-in-all great match. And I think that would be my number one match for 2023. Okay, I mean, there's been other great matches such as Rhea versus Charlotte, Camille versus I can remember the Russian lass the other week. So, but that has got to be my number one match because it's probably two of the longest following wrestlers I followed. I followed Mickie James. You've followed Mickie James probably majority of your wrestling career, but absolutely amazing match. And if you haven't seen it, get Impact Plus. Get subscribed to Impact on YouTube, or I think, is it on AXA TV? I don't access CT or whatever, but that's probably my favourite match of 2023. So,
listeners, you heard it. You absolutely heard it. Go and check out Scholes's female match of 2023. Mine, again, very, very easy, is Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley from WrestleMania.
That's my wife's.
Yeah, two of my favourites competing. I know Rhea didn't make my top 5. She's probably comfortably at 6. I think the work she's doing at the moment with the Judgment Day. But Charlotte and Rhea had the match of the night, I think, at WrestleMania 36 in the warehouse during COVID, which again I was so grateful for wrestling being on during that time. I think many of us are, and probably take that era for granted slightly now, but I needed that in my life at that point. So Charlotte and Rhea stole the night at WrestleMania 36, but they also, for me, one of the best matches of WrestleMania 39, and it's my favourite female women's wrestling match of 2023.
So you hear it. Go and listen to it. Get the network, man. I've still got the network. I love the network. Get the network. Go and watch this match because I would be agreeing with you. As I said to you, it's a very close second for me in that element. I think with Charlotte Flair, as we talked about, technical wrestling wise, absolutely amazing. You talk about Rhea Ripley, loads of big, powerful moves, and she also has this incredible ability to control an audience, and that's why Ripley is very important. I mean, I love what she's doing with Dom at the minute. I think her and him working together is actually incredible. I mean, you have the chicken heel and you have the powerhouse of a woman in that sense.
I agree. It's just phenomenal television each and every single week, and I'm always adding the WWE videos to my story every week, Rhea Ripley and Dom, because it's just so fun. It just
works, man. It shouldn't work, but it just works.
It's just. And by the way, side note, how good is Dom?
Oh mate,
so good.
Oh mate,
Scholesy, right. Ones to watch.
So we've got a quick question. One more question. Are we going to wrap this up talking about up and coming wrestlers? All right, quickly, because I've got a massive list here.
Yeah. Let's dive into our ones to watch.
So I've got 3. Okay, and 4 technically because one of my choices, they're twins. But my first one is to keep a firm eye out for a former NWA TV, former NWA tag team champion, the current NWA TV champion. She beat the big wrestler called Impaler. You'll know who her manager is, Sinister Minister, the legend from TNA and ECW. Kenzie Page, right? You have got to look for Kenzie Page. She is very young, very talented, and at some point she'll be picked up and grabbed. She's very similar to Roxy, that was in Ring of Honor, that is now in WWE NXT. Absolutely brilliant wrestler. I've got to throw these girls in here as well because they're so good. They're called the Renegade Twins. They are QT Marshall trained. Okay, They have been the NWA champions, tag team champions. They throw out a classic move from the Garcia sisters, if everybody gets that, the Bella twins,
Yep.
okay, called Twin Magic. But they're a tag team that are going to go up and go up. So I'm, again, within women's wrestling, we don't see many tag teams. I mean, we've got the Iconics, the Inspiration, and it was always crazy when WWE released them for that reason, because they were literally the only tag team. They're sort of like tag team. And the Renegade Twins are going to be massive. And my last one is somebody called Sky Blue. And the importance about Sky Blue, she's had big matches. She's had matches against Red Velvet, Jade Cargill, Jamie Hayter. She has an insane record in AEW of 28-49. So they are my wrestlers. And also Sky's appeared on Warrior Wrestling. She's been on NWA as well. So they are my wrestlers to watch out for in the future.
Love it. Absolutely love it. I'm going to up you slightly. I've got 5. And I couldn't get it down to just 3. I'm going to start with one that's probably more known than others. A few of these on this list are quite well known so far. It's very, very NXT heavy. I'm a huge fan of the WWE product, so it is very NXT heavy. And I think that's what's good about me and you. You are very, very drawn. You're very much drawn to Impact, Ring of Honor,
NWA as well.
Absolutely. Whereas I am very much WWE, AEW heavy, and I think it's just time restraints for me. That's what I've grown up watching, especially WWE. And I think because the time restraints in the week, we all have lives, and I think I just go to the WWE a lot more frequently than others. But I'm hoping to change that in the future. So my ones to watch. The first one, probably not necessarily a one to watch because she's been on television quite heavily for NXT. I'm a huge fan of JC Jane. I just love the facials that she pulls. Her matches with former Toxic Attraction member Gigi Dolin have been a little bit disappointing, if I'm being brutally honest with you. I'm hoping their third and final match will be an absolute blowout. So JC Jane for me, huge star. I think she's got a lot going for her. Another one from NXT is Sol Ruka. Phenomenal athlete. And I know she's breaking the internet with gifs and memes and all sorts because of just what she can do inside the ring is phenomenal. So yeah, Sol Ruka, go check her out. Another one from NXT is Tatum Paxley. Her win-loss record, more losses than wins. But I think we've got a breakout star there somewhere. I think her ring gear entry. I think she's just got the lot. So I'm just waiting for that one big win for Tatum just to propel her to the next level in NXT. Another NXT one is Valerie Loreda, known as Lola Vice. She's featured quite heavily on NXT Level Up. Again, she's got the look. I just feel she's just got everything that you need to be a big player in the professional wrestling industry. And lastly, we agree on something, mate. Sky Blue.
Oh, man.
Again, I've said it, I think, about every single person on my list, but she's got the look and she's clearly got the drive, and that win-loss record, and I think she's going to be featured. She's featured on Ring of Honor as well quite heavily. I think she got a win this week on Ring of Honor TV. So I can't name who her opponent was. I'm sorry, I haven't watched Ring of Honor this week, but I know she picked up a huge W. So yeah, that's my 5: JC Jane, Sol Ruka, Tatum Paxley, Sky Blue, and Lola Vice.
Check out all them wrestlers. Also check out Kenzie Page, the Renegade Twins, and again Sky Blue. And I think this is the great thing about it is, and I've noticed this maybe in the last 4 or 5 years, that there are more young ladies, right, jumping into the ring that are willing to push their movesets, to push their ring ability and stuff like this. And every single wrestler that we have mentioned today, that's what they have all in common. Great storytellers, okay, and great in the ring.
Touche Scalzi.
Yes, my friend.
Yeah. I hope you don't mind, but I'm just going to take the floor for a moment. I mentioned it earlier on. I put a tweet out there yesterday asked followers, listeners, whoever. Hopefully, they're all listening. We're going to grab their attention. But I asked people to drop their 4 favourite female wrestlers, and I wanted it to make sense. Now, the reason I wanted to make sense is quite simple. You're all going to get a shout out, and I'm going to name your wrestlers. So, if you tweeted me yesterday your 4 wrestlers, listen carefully, because I'm going to send out right now your Twitter handles and your 4, and it's in no particular order. So thank you again for reaching out. This is your reward. I hope you come back for more the Don't Call Me a Diva podcast. So, right. Thank you to @Sky_creates1, who said her favourite wrestlers are Ruby Soho, Bianca Belair, Britt Baker, and Jamie Hayter.
Nice.
Good. That's a strong 4, isn't it? That is
very strong
4.
Mate, Ruby and what she's doing with the Outcasts, darn.
Yeah, I mean, and how did Bianca not get into our top 5? She's going to
Mate, I'm thinking that now. The strongest lady in wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, like, she's going to break the record if she beats Zelina tonight, right? As the longest reigning WWE women's champion. Obviously, Backlash tonight, WWE Network. If you haven't downloaded that or haven't subscribed, don't miss Backlash live from Puerto Rico. @Major_Mustard came in with Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Chris Statlander, and Thunder Rosa. Wow. I'm questioning my life choices right now.
So I'm like a crazy Thunder Rosa fan, man. It's sort of like, and she's literally what she did in NWA and what she's doing for women's wrestling with her own promotion. Okay, currently is incredible. So that is a wow. I'm disappointed in myself now.
Yeah, I'm definitely questioning my life choices here. Right, next up, @Scottish_Siren13. We haven't interacted before, but I love this list, and it's very, very close to home. Molly Spartan, Casey, a personal favourite of mine here, Sky Smithson, and Lizzie Evo, the Liverbird. So four great Brit Rest choices there. Thank you, Scottish Siren. Next up, we've got @Alex_B_83 with Jamie Hayter, Julia, Athena, and Kyrie.
Nice.
I'm all about that 4, obviously.
Nice.
There's 2 of our favourites in there straight up. Here's someone I've spoke to a few times. Nice lad, Pure Vegan Techers. It's @Indie3 Wrestling, huge independent wrestling fan. Attends a lot of shows, so sending you a wave, my friend. Cora Jade, yes. Hannah Taylor, who is, I think, back in business now. Mariah May, who is absolutely killing it in Stardom, by the way. And, of course, Bianca Belair. But Pure Vegan Techers did state that was in no particular order. So thanks for those 4, my friend. Next up, @IamLexFord with Mickey James.
Nice.
Liv Morgan, Dana Brooke. I think,
darn.
Mate, we need to talk about Dana Brooke at on this.
That's an interesting call. That's, again, very underrated wrestler.
Very much so. And yes, another one of mine. We need to see a little bit more. Aaliyah. So thank you, Lex Ford, for that one. Friend of mine here, Emerald Hills @Turd Ferguson. Love that. Lovely human being. Her and her partner, amazing human beings. Charlotte Flair, yes. China, yes.
Nice.
Bianca Belair, yes.
Done.
Rhea Ripley.
That's so strong.
What a form.
They're all powerful wrestlers.
I'm going to give Emerald Hills like money to just start a federation with those 4, because that is a 4. Another one of my friends here, so giving you a wave, Eddie. It's @EddieJadePW. Love this list as well, by the way. Mickey James, Liv Morgan, Emi Sakura.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, like, again, we haven't spoke about Emmy, and Bianca Belair. Bianca's getting into a lot of people's top 4s, by the way. A lot.
She's likable, though, isn't she? She's likable.
Very much so. Yeah. Very, very much so. Next up is Shelby. It's @Cami Ibuki. By the way, I know Shelby is #all in. So congratulations on securing your ticket. See you there. Love this four, by the way, and I need to talk about this number one in the future because I'm a huge mark. Hikaru Shida.
Nice.
Miyu Yamashita, Maki Ito, and one closer to home, Alex Windsor. So people need to check out Alex Windsor for sure. All the way from Italy. I'm not sure I'm going to pronounce this, my friend. We've spoken a few times, but it's at Rompi Ballet, I think. Apologies if I pronounced it wrong.
Did you say Rompi Ballet?
Rompi Ballet, yeah. Okay. All the way from Italy. So hello from the UK all the way to Italy. Jamie Hayter,
nice.
Kyrie, Alba Fire, and Roxanne Perez.
Roxanne Perez.
We've got a lot to talk about on this.
We do. Do you know what just came to my mind, though? I didn't even mention people like Nyla Rose. I mean, such an important wrestler.
What an important wrestler.
Comic book writer as well, just to add.
We have got a ton to discuss on this podcast over the next several years. Next up, a friend of mine from the States, a really, really lovely human being, Sergio. So at Sergio_2410_ Jamie Hayter, Bailey, Tony Storm, and Blair Davenport, the former B Priestley.
I think the interesting one about that is we've not given Bailey enough love, and Davenport as well, because everybody forgets that she was the goddess tag team champion with the best, one of my favorite wrestlers currently, Jamie Hayter, wasn't she, in Stardom? So
absolutely. So looking forward to seeing where Blair, when Blair returns to NXT, I assume.
Well, she's hinted, hasn't she, on her Insta a few times about the draft, doesn't she? So we'll see where she goes.
Yeah. Another lovely human being, Tony. It's at Mr. Tony B. He's actually given us 8 names because he's gone for the big stage names, and then if you're lucky enough to see smaller shows. So we've definitely got to give this a shout out. So, the big stages, okay, Alba Fire, Bailey, Piper Niven, and Britt Baker. It's a very, very strong 4. And again, Britt Refs, big shout out here. Ivy, Harley Hudson, Lowry, and Lizzie Evo. Again, the Liverbird, she's hit 2 lists here.
Nice.
And last but not least, Theory of a Demon. It's at Superbad Theory. Again, lovely human being. Thank you for sending this in. Mickey James, Rhea Ripley, Natalia, and Liv Morgan.
Nice. Liking that one.
Massive. Guys, thank you so much for sending those in, and keep your eyes peeled on both of our Twitters, at Golfy Talk and at 9+1=10, because look, we're laws to ourselves. We're going to put this stuff out. We're going to build episodes, and we want it to be around the viewers, the listeners, because this show, it's not just for us. It is for everyone.
Just on that note, can I give a shout out quickly to Walter or Gunther and Ginny, man. They got married this week, didn't they? I think. And I mean, Ginny, she's one of her own. She's a Brit, and she was a Rev Pro British champion. So just shout out and congratulations for you getting married.
Absolutely. Congratulations, Gunther. Congratulations, Ginny. Miss Ginny, one of my favourites.
I was gutted when she retired because of the concussion thing, mate, because she's such a high class talent.
So gutted. Absolutely gutted. Right. On this note, Scholesy, before we wrap up our first ever episode of Don't Call Me a Diva, have you got anything that you want to add?
I think the important things about I want to say about the podcast and stuff like what we're going to offer. We love wrestling, all right? We're not Team AEW, we're not Team WWE or anything like that. We love wrestling. Okay, so this is the concept of the podcast. We're going to talk about every women wrestler as much as we can, anyway, from every different promotion, because we love wrestling.
Absolutely, I will just mirror that thought. So, Scholesy, should we wrap it up, mate?
Yeah, go for it. Thank you all for listening. Thank you so much.
So yeah, just keep an eye on our social medias. I've said them a few times. At Scholesy Talk, at 9+1=10. If you want to tweet us, it's #Don't Call Me a Diva. And until next time, mate. This is huge. So
this is awesome.
Let's get it out there, shall we?
Let's do it. See you later, guys.
You're like, peace.
Peace.